Hey there, Seattle hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I'm your host, Erica L. Ayala, and we've got a Stanley Cup Final game tonight. We also are going to talk about, unfortunately, it's all over for the Seattle Thunderbirds, and I want to get you some odds in case you are the betting type. You can get a good sense for what the odds are by our sponsor, BetOnline. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end, and that is exactly what happened for the Seattle Thunderbirds. It was a good run. It was a really good run. Obviously, these were the comeback kids of the WHL, but I tell you what, Edmonton just had too much going for them. They lose Game 6, couldn't push a Game 7, and it was a 2-0 win for the Edmonton Oilers. I think this team just ran out of gas. You saw that Edmonton scored in the first period. They also scored in the second period. Seattle 0 for 6 on the power play. That's going to be tough. Edmonton scored one of their goals on the power play. Seattle outshot 36-27, particularly outshot in that first period, 21 shots to 4. I'm going to pull it up for you so you can take a look now. 21 shots to 4 shots. As you can see, the shots started to even out a little bit, but it was really that first period. We talked so many times about the Seattle team wanting to get a fast start, a fresh start, and they just couldn't get it done. They just couldn't get it done. And you feel for the guys because it felt like it was a magical run. It felt like something, that was going really well for them. But then you just run out of steam. So Seattle hockey is over for the season. The Oil Kings hoist the 2022 WHL Championship. So congrats to them. And it'll be a comeback for this Seattle team. They've got a lot of pieces in place that are going to be exciting for seasons to come, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one to lose, hoping to push to Game 7, but that's why you got to get your work in early, especially for such a long season. So stick taps, of course, to the Thunderbirds. It was amazing to see the Seattle Kraken fan base kind of following along and all that good stuff. We'll see if any of these guys, I know we've talked about it before, some Seattle Kraken prospects, or Seattle Kraken or Seattle Thunderbirds players that could be eligible for the 2022 draft or who Seattle might want to pick up. So we'll see what happens. But it was fun. It was fun for me to follow along another MNHL or Men's Hockey League, I should say. There's only one MNHL, but it was fun to follow along with another hockey league by association to Seattle. So, it'll be something that I try to work in more here at Locked On Kraken. But yeah, heartbreaking stuff here for the Thunderbirds. I always forget to close out that screen, so sorry for those who are watching on YouTube. You just saw that up there for a little bit, the box score. But I just want to take you quickly to something that head coach Matt Odette said. This is in, you can see it in the show notes, but this is the game recap. Coach Matt Odette knows they have no reason to hang their heads despite coming 2 games short. A lot to be proud of. What a group. Super resilient, tons of character, Odette added. The team was counted out a number of times in the playoffs. Again, we talked about that, but continued to rise like a phoenix from the ashes. Yes. I'm going to be like this every time I talk about the Firebirds. I did see a comment, like I need to have like a special AHL Firebirds hat when I'm doing Firebirds talk. So I'm going to have to, obviously I'm traveling a bit today, but when we have a Firebirds, I might have to get something. I get something that's just extravagant for every time we're talking about the Coachella Valley Firebirds. That brings me so much joy. I love Firebirds. I love the mythical creature Phoenix. Anyway, Odette said, and the write-up says, this Seattle Thunderbirds team continued to rise. They continued to fight on. We're extremely proud of the group. What a great bunch of kids. It's tough when you have Bauer, their captain, serving a 2-game suspension. Obviously, that's something that we're going to look back in this series. Final WHL game for a lot of players, including Gottfried, who we heard from the other day. They're aging out. So, we'll see what happens here. But exciting nonetheless, as someone who didn't come in really knowing much about the WHL, certainly not about the T-Birds, but to see the excitement, as I said. So anyway, we're going to keep it moving on this show. And I want to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs and get you some odds from our friends at BetOnline. And right now, though, I want to tell you about another good friend of the podcast and the network. And of course, that's rockauto.com, your family-owned company serving auto parts customers online for over 20 years. Why would you spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more on auto parts when you can find them on rockauto.com from the comfort of your home or your workspace or wherever you are? The prices are reliably low for every customer, not just people in the automotive industry. You can find good prices. I can find good prices. Locked On Canucks can find good prices. And that's what we love about it. And you can discover parts that you need or things that you want to upgrade just by heading over to the online catalog and having everything sent directly to you. So go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car, your truck, whatever vehicle you're riding these days. And don't forget to type Locked On in there, how did you hear about us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I know that we missed you, or I missed you on yesterday, here in New York City, and then had some older sister duties to fulfill, so kept me away from the microphone, but good to see you, or I'm glad to have you hear this episode of Locked On Kraken. And, we always want to make sure that we are a place at the Locked On Network where we're getting that feedback. We are a community. I certainly feel that. And so we want you to fill out a survey. You can go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. And if you fill out the survey, you can be perhaps one of 10 people to win a $100 gift card to Ticketmaster. So that's going to be in the show notes. But again, it's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. And let us know, what do you think about the show? Well, keep it real. I can take that. All right, let's talk about the Stanley Cup. We're going to get started tonight. I told you that I'm going to be doing a watch party for another place that I work. So keep posted if you want to follow me at elinz08. I'll have more on that. I'm really excited about what is to come. If you didn't know, as I'm sure you do because you listen to Locked On Kraken, obviously, you know that the Stanley Cup Final starts tonight. Colorado Avalanche was awaiting the Eastern Conference champion. That, of course, for the third consecutive year is the Tampa Bay Lightning. We start tonight. Game 1 puck drops 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Colorado is going to be hosting Tampa Bay. They will have home ice advantage, if you will. Some things to know about this series. Obviously, Tampa Bay looking for the three-peat. They became the first team to reach the Stanley Cup Final in 3 straight seasons since the Oilers did so in 1983 to 85 by defeating the New York Rangers in 6 games in the Eastern Conference Final. So yeah, I'm sure Rangers fans love hearing that. I love this quote: 3 in a row. Who would have ever thought that? Lightning captain Steve Stamkos is saying to media. I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of had dismissed Tampa Bay early. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time watching teams that are not the Seattle Kraken or are not in the Pacific Division, but I was like, no. Obviously, they struggled mightily coming out of the gate, or at least it was noticeable. When you're the Stanley Cup champion, you're raising banners, you're getting rings, and then you kind of crap the bed. It was a little bit awkward early on, but they got it together, and that's all that matters. And, the Colorado Avalanche, I've talked about this before, kind of exercising, I'm doing like little ghostly fingers for those listening on audio, but kind of exercising some demons as far as, is this a franchise that's even ready to make it to the final? And they showed that they are today. So Lightning coach, let's talk about what's going on with these teams. Lightning coach John Cooper says Braden Point looks like he's ready to go for game 1. It would be his first game since game 7 of the Toronto Maple Leafs series back in May. That's how long the Stanley Cup playoffs are, that this guy hasn't played since May 14th. That was like a month ago. Also, that was 2 series ago? I don't know. It's kind of wild. Anyway, so Braden Point potentially back. We're going to look out for that. Darcy Kemper, or where are we with that? So we had a lot of injuries. I've talked about it vaguely before on the show. But Avalanche keeping it, mum's the word. I haven't seen any updates. So as of the time I'm recording this, mum's the word on who's going to start. Darcy Kemper, of course, suffered an injury. So, with Darcy Kemper out, Pavel Francouz has had to come in for the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see what that looks like for Francouz, for Kemper. JT Compher was asked about it, says we have full confidence. Both guys have shown throughout the season that they can be successful. Both guys have been doing the work. Obviously, Kemps was out, but he's working hard to really go. And Frankie has been the same during this break, just getting ready. All right. A lot of people are saying that this is kind of the clash of the Titans, Avalanche, and their offense, which actually also comes from their defense. Like they have some of the highest scoring defensemen in the league, but then you have the Lightning's defense. We've seen that it's been a totally different game. The Lightning can keep games close because of their defense. So, and here are the stats on it. Colorado leads in scoring with 4.64 goals per game, whereas Tampa Bay is only allowing 2.41 goals per game. So I'm excited to see what this is going to look like and, essentially who's going to blink first. So, again, we're looking at goals for, that's what I was just talking about. Goals for first in the league is Colorado, as I like to say, 4.64 goals. That's what I just read. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning can score too. They're averaging just above 3 goals a game at 3.06, but obviously almost 5 is better than just barely 3. There you go. So about a 2-goal swing is what we're working with on average. But here's the kicker. Now, the Colorado Avalanche, they're keeping teams to less than 3 goals a game, but the Tampa Bay Lightning doing that on a more consistent basis, but they're right there neck and neck defensively. So, is it going to be a defensive showdown Is Erica excited about that? Heck yes. Heck yes, I am. I love me some defense. So I'm here for it. I'll be watching tonight. And definitely Game 3 is when I'm going to be doing the watch party. So keep an eye out for that. All right, we're going to keep it pretty lean here. Coming up next, I want to give you some betting odds from betonline.com so that you know where to put your money if that's your thing. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting and stats sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments. You can find news and odds, including, of course, basketball championship matchups. We've got the NBA Finals happening. We've got the NHL Stanley Cup Final happening. Major League Baseball, Syndergaard is now in LA. That always gets weird for me. Anyway, BetOnline is your continued source for sports wagering information, live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device, one of these suckers right here, to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. And I talked about BetOnline. I'm going to pull up the BetOnline odds for you so you have a feel for what's going on. What I love about BetOnline, I am not a betting woman, at all. But what I love about BetOnline is that they also give you different, if you want to just go off of who are the players that are going to collect the most points, for example. And so that's what I'm going to show you first, is what BetOnline is saying as far as who's going to collect, I just closed it out, sorry. Who's going to collect the most points? There's all these kinds of ways to bet. And I think it's great if it's your vibe. It's not my vibe. I am not a betting woman. I don't know. I just, but I love learning about it. And so BetOnline has been great for me as someone who doesn't partake, to get to learn things. And it's essentially, we're looking at stats, right? And we talked to Allison Lucan way back in the day, one of our first guests, about the use of data analysis and statistics when it comes to betting. And so BetOnline kind of does that. So Nathan McKinnon, right at the top of the table when it comes to points, most points scored in the Stanley Cup Finals. Cale Makar up there, Nikita Kucherov, Mikko Rantanen, Nazem Kadri is up here, so we'll see if Nazem is even available. I want to look back quickly. I don't think I saw his name on the projected roster, so we'll see what happens with Nazem Kadri. But yeah, he's not listed on the projected roster. Now, of course, that's just projected. Nazem Kadri with a hand injury that he suffered. Obviously, that was the game that Evander Kane essentially boarded Nazem, got a hand injury, and then Kane did not play the next game, which ended up eliminating the Edmonton Oilers, not the Oil Kings, because we know they won. JT Comfer on here, his sister Jessie, I was able to cover at the Beijing Olympics, Victor Hedman. So these are names that if you're going to put betting odds on a particular player, you might want to take a little look at that. Top goal scorer overall, Nathan McKinnon again. Steven Stamkos up there. We heard or got a quote from him earlier. Cale Makar, Nazem Kadri up there. So I think these are kind of cool. And BetOnline has so many amazing different odds and whatnot. Now, we've said it before that the odds are favoring Colorado coming into this series. So we'll see if that holds. And throughout the series, I'll make sure to keep an eye on the lines, on the betting lines and the odds for you, so we can talk about them on the show. We're going to keep this a pretty lean show. When it comes to your health and wellness routine, I think that, and I've been alluding to this for a little while, but making sure that you add something to your morning routine that is just going to make you smile. That is, or maybe it doesn't make you smile, but I mean, just it brings you joy. I think it's kind of hard to have joy without at least cracking a smile a little bit, even if it's like an internal smile, like you're not, anyway. I found that really motivates me to get my day going. So yeah, it's good to focus on my nutrition in the morning, which is something that I do. I talk about that with Athletic Greens and my hot tea with lemon and all of that stuff. But I've really enjoyed finding things that bring me joy to do first thing in the morning. So before I pick up my phone, which used to be a really bad habit, like sometimes I would fall asleep with this thing and then I'd wake up and immediately check social media. So, and Blake Bolden, former guest of the show, has talked about this as well. Like, let's not doom scroll. Let's not check social media right away. Like, find your morning routine and bring something that brings you joy. That is not, and it doesn't have to be, related to anyone or anything else. It's just something that you can do, whether you have internet connection or not, that brings you joy. So that's my challenge to you as far as a wellness tip. But now that you've listened to Locked On Kraken and you've made Locked On Kraken, I did it again with the screen. Sorry, YouTube. Now that you've listened to Locked On Kraken and made us your number one listen of the day, let's make sure you listen to Locked On NHL. So not only is this a great place as we're getting ready for the Stanley Cup Final, but also you should know that I've mentioned it a few times before, but we have our mock draft coming. The pick for the Seattle Kraken by way of the Locked On Kraken show is in. I've teased out a few players that maybe we could be picking at number 4. We still have a few more prospects that I think are worthwhile talking about because, again, the Seattle Kraken, we have several picks. We could trade up. We could switch around and get another first round. I mean, anything's possible, right? So make sure you're locked on, if you will, Locked On NHL, to keep updated with all of those rumors. I know the ones that relate to Seattle, but it's good to know what other teams are doing, and Locked On NHL has you covered. So find that joy first thing in the morning. Stick tabs to the Seattle Thunderbirds. Let me know, are you going to be watching tonight, game 1, or are you just kind of like, none of my folks are in it, I'm going to keep it moving? Totally fine. Do what works for you. I'm here to support you either way, and you always know we're going to be talking about Seattle hockey. Now that we are in the Stanley Cup Final, and now that the Thunderbirds are no longer in the WHL series, or I should say that series, that league has crowned a champion, we are going to get into that. Remember, I told you about getting into the history of the number 4 picks. We're going to start that this week. So we'll be focused on the Stanley Cup Final, but we'll replace some of the AHL, WHL stuff with focusing on the number 4 pick, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be picking at number 4. So let's know we've got a number 4 pick in the final. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about, of course, our number 4 picks, the history of the pick, all that jazz coming up. And make sure you follow on social media, because I'm going to do like a little bit of a head-to-head. It's going to be social media only. I'll talk about it on the show, but I'm just curious. Who do you think is the best number 4 pick? Who's the best ever? The GOAT of number 4s. Let's talk about it. Hold fast, stay true, and I'll see you tomorrow.